calls for the government to drop its target of reducing immigration to below 100,000, with MPs saying instead the government should focus on building consensus amongst the public. But how easy is that?
Immigration has been hugely important to the UK economy. We do need some controls, but I think that any policy should have compassion at its heart.
I believe that immigration has had a net positive impact, and I think we can create a fair and transparent system together that meets the needs of our economy.
Although I think immigration has been positive for the UK, I think we need a points-based system now for the whole world.
Much more from them after 9:30. The government is being urged to drop its target of reducing net migration to the tens of thousands because it undermines trust in the state's ability to control immigration. Net migration is the difference in the number of people coming to live in the UK and those leaving the UK. The government has promised for years that the number should be below 100,000. They've never reached that target yet, but the Home Affairs Select Committee says having a target like this undermines people's trust in the state's ability to control immigration. That committee is calling on the government to try and find consensus amongst the British public. How do you find agreement on an issue which divides people? Here we have three people with different views to try and see if they can come to any kind of agreement in 10 minutes on national TV. Luke Musket is a former UKIP voter. Kajal Sangracha is the founder of Growth Hub that helps companies expand to the US. Her dad was a Ugandan immigrant. And Sam Nanji is an IT business owner. He's a Ugandan refugee and believes in controlled immigration with compassion. Welcome. Thank you for coming on the programme. This is your chance to set up a post-Brexit immigration system, and I want to try and find areas where you agree to start with. Should the government dump the target?
Yes.
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 OK, that's a good start. OK, why? Why do you think they should?
They've never managed to achieve a target. I think it's been arbitrarily set without really looking at the needs of business and the needs of the individuals involved. And having sort of a target picked out of thin air, which you never achieve, really does undermine confidence from the general public.
Why should the target be dropped?
I think it's a very crude way of looking at immigration, and I think different immigrants have different skill sets that we need to look at, and I think the majority of the British public have a balanced view on this, so we need to look at this on a broader level without just a crude number.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It's common sense. You just want to have the best people in, sort of thing. So why have a set target of 100,000? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, stupid.
Stupid, OK. So, the latest figures show net migration fell to 230,000 in the year ending June 2017, and that's down from a high of 336,000. Is that about right, that 230,000 figure? Is that still too many? Too few? What would you say?
I'm not sure, really. It depends. I think there needs to be a bigger conversation about what people want. What is an acceptable number to everyday people? But generally, I think you need to have the best people in. If there's a shortage of skills, I think most people think we should get the best people in from all around the world, sort of thing. So
how do you do that then? Because that would seem to have eluded politicians for a while.
Just have a points-based system, but instead of just having it with the rest of the world, extend it to Europe, because at the moment you have a system where you have complete free movement of people from the EU.
Yeah.
So in order to get the numbers down, because they've set a target, they have to try and really be punitive on the rest of the world, and it doesn't really make any sense. Why have a complete, thousands and thousands of unskilled workers when you already have people who are out of work? Young people is the highest percentage of unemployed demographic. It doesn't make any sense.
But we have a points-based system for people coming from outside of the EU, and for years, not the most recent figures, but for years, those numbers were higher than EU migrants.
Exactly.
Right.
So what would so Luke says a points-based system for the whole of the world.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that you've really hit on the head is where we could control immigration outside the EU, the numbers were actually going up. And Theresa May was actually Home Secretary at the time, and David Cameron was setting these arbitrary figures for immigration.
So, so are you saying then a points-based system doesn't really work, or what?
I'm actually saying we need to get away, we're fixated on numbers of people coming in and out. I think we should get rid of that notion altogether and say it should be based on our needs. If we need fewer people because we've got the skills in the country, then that's fine. If we actually need some of these smart people with their skills to come into the country because we have a need, then we should get them in. And at the same time, there are some low-paid skilled jobs that people in the UK just don't want to do. I mean, look at agriculture, for example. Do you really want to be picking strawberries on a, you know, in a cold day? Some people don't want to do those jobs. So I think it has to be a balance based on our need.
Kajal, so if it was based on what we needed, how would you design that system? Would you do it sector by sector? So IT, how many do we need? Agriculture, how many people do we need? Hospitality, and so on and so forth.
I think we have to get across that this isn't a zero-sum game. I think there's a trust issue with this, and then the points-based system is a good starting point because the spirit of that is fair. I think what people want is something that's fair and transparent. That's what we're saying. So in terms of whether it's divided by sector or whether we look at local and regional policy, the local impact is massive. So you feel that on a daily basis, and if you feel that immigrants are contributing, we as British people are being skilled at the same time, then it's a win-win for everybody. And I think there needs to be a real-time conversation between all the different stakeholders involved, and that's what hasn't happened so far. Until the report that came out today from the National Conversation on Immigration, which I was really encouraged by because the British public do have a balanced view. They think it's positive, but they have some concerns such as pressures on public housing, etc., which we need to address.
And the British public, when you look at polling evidence, suggests that if people are coming to Britain for a definite job, that's totally different from someone coming looking for work.
Yeah, makes sense. It's just common sense, really, at the end of the day. And what you were saying about the points-based system, saying that for years it's been the rest of the world has been more immigration come from the rest of the world than the EU. But you would expect that because the rest of the world is a much larger demographic of the earth, sort of thing. The EU is only
but the point of bringing that up is that if the government really wanted to achieve that target, any government, then it could make the point system more difficult and reduce the numbers. That was the point.
200,000, then you'd expect there'd be some reduction if there was a points-based system in the EU because free movement, obviously. Anyone can come in.
The number includes international students.
Is that a concern for you?
Yes, because most people agree that that shouldn't be part of the immigration statistic. So if we take that out, actually the number is far lower. And this is why just having this crude number doesn't make sense. There's nuances in this which people don't understand.
Okay, so this is where we're up to after 8 minutes of discussion on TV. We get rid of the target. We have a fair and transparent system. It's based on need. And are you agreeing with Luke about points system?
The thing that Luke said, which was interesting to me, Luke said, you know, it's common sense. The problem is, common sense is actually not that common, especially in the UK government. And it was interesting when David Davis was being questioned by one of the select committees.
He's the Brexit secretary.
Exactly. He was asked, have you done a sector-by-sector analysis
of the impact of Brexit?
On the impact of Brexit, on a sector-by-sector basis? And I was gobsmacked, actually, when he admitted that they hadn't. So how can you actually assess the needs on a sector-by-sector basis?
Well, you can if you want to.
You can if you want to, but they chose not to.
Scotland are about to. We've got a press conference a bit later to talk about the effect of Brexit on their economy. We'll bring that to our audience, of course, live at about 10:30. OK, I want to ask you finally and briefly about the UKIP leader, Henry Bolton, separating from his girlfriend because of her racist views, although he said on the radio this morning she is absolutely devastated. The comments were taken out of context and they're not her views. Should he resign? What do you think?
Who cares? It's so irrelevant now. Like,
What,
I used to
UKIP are
support
irrelevant?
UKIP. I used to vote UKIP mainly for the EU sort of thing. And yeah, they're just so irrelevant. And so why is this a top story? Why are we even discussing this? It's like they got 1% of the vote last time, 2%.
Yeah,
They
down
need to
from
go
12%
away.
in 2015.
Farage and everyone, as much as what he's done for the vote and things, they just need to be quiet now and just.
So now that we've had the referendum vote, Britain
go
doesn't
away.
need
I'm
UKIP
not too
anymore.
keen on the Conservatives, but I need for me, I need a libertarian sort of party for me, so.
Okay.
I don't think he should resign. I think that this is an opportunity for a broader conversation about what she said, and let's see how he handles it. You know, that's going to be the test.
Briefly, quick, Sam.
I'm amazed that she says that it was taken out of context. I would love someone to actually go to her and say, okay, give us the context. What was the context around which you said this? And I think the other thing is, nothing is private anymore. If you send a text message and you're saying things that are not very nice, it is going to end up on the media. And I think it's good that he's distanced himself from these comments, but I think he should go a little bit further and she should be questioned around context.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks very much for coming on the programme. Thank you.